Okay, so let's take a look at some of the coolest new features in the kit, and possibly the ones that are going to make you the most moolah down the road, because who doesn't love to see themselves inside of an app? And I know every kid out there would love to be a superhero, would love to be a princess, get dressed up, or do whatever. So here we go. We are going to play around with the camera roll and the edit mask scenes. And of course, you're looking at the camera roll one right now. And the fundamental part of making all this work is having a placeholder called camera roll placeholder in the scene. And I would recommend using a SK sprite node, or which is basically just a color sprite over here, as your placeholder, because you can manipulate the size of it. So I could squash this together, and what's going to happen is the image is going to get placed inside of this placeholder, all right, using these exact same size properties, the width and height, but also the mask is going to abide by that too. So no matter what mask I choose, it's also going to be inside of this. Now, it just so happens that for layout purposes, I'm using the same texture I would use for the mask inside of my placeholder right here, okay? But property list wise, what's really happening is the camera roll placeholder is not being used as the mask. It's the image I have inside of the library called face mask. So again, it's just kind of a not coincidence that I'm using this texture as part of the placeholder. The placeholder could just be a blank red square if you wanted it. So let's take a look at the properties that are going to make this happen, then we'll actually demonstrate it. So right now I've got some text on the scene, but beneath that I've got a couple buttons: mask button from camera, and the other one is probably mask button from library. So in the property list under camera roll, you can see I've got elements for each of those, and let me give myself a little bit more room. We've got, yes, mask button from camera and mask button from library. Unfold these. I would recommend going with touch up event, because as soon as the code for the camera roll basically takes over, it doesn't register that the touch up event actually occurred if you were using a touch event. All right. So I've accounted for that in the code, but I would just still recommend you just use touch up event. So basically you press down, then when you release, it's going to, ask the user if they want to access the camera roll, whatever. So the only property that you have to use here is take photo with mask. All right. Now, again, this is going to be for using the camera, and then you choose the mask over here. So this face mask refers to that one that I just pointed to in the library. Okay. So now keep in mind, the way this works is the blank pixel data around the PNG file is not gonna reveal that part of the picture. Okay, so only the gray part and the black part, only the part that has pixel data. All right, so back over here. Oh, actually, sorry. Well, let's look at the one that pick photo with mask. Okay, so that's going to actually pick the photo from the camera roll, and again, I'm just using the same mask, but you could use a different one. And let's see what happens. So I'm going to build this. Okay, and let's go over here. All right, now, why are you seeing this image right here? It's because I've already been playing around with, the scene or whatever. I've already added an image previously, and kind of the foundation of this is that if you've done this before, it's always going to show you that image that you picked last time. So you'll notice under events, we've got show saved image with mask, and again pointing to that face mask. And what this does is it basically goes, hey, does the scene have a camera roll placeholder? If so, then I'm going to show the last image that you picked out. So again, you do have to have that that placeholder in there, and then you can show that previously picked image. So that's why we're seeing this scene. But now, of course, when I go and I pick out a new one, it is going to replace that out. So let's look at my ugly mug. And I'm looking smug as usual, probably. So, all right. Obviously, this is probably more of a... Actually, was this a portrait? I can't remember if it was a portrait or landscape-oriented photo, but that's what we're going to adjust now, because obviously I'm getting squashed. So let's go over here to Edit Mask, and this is going to open up a separate scene altogether. So now we're in the edit mask scene, and as usual, if you want to kind of change the layout of anything or sizing for the iPhone, you can do that, and I've got a separate one for the iPhone that kind of moves around some of the control elements, but let's just focus in on the iPad one. So again, I've got over here the camera roll placeholder, and of course in this scene you can see now, let's fold this up, go over here to edit mask. We've got the same events inside of here, so we've got show saved image with mask, but I've also included in here a pan X and a pan Y event, and if you've got that, if you're showing a previously masked image, you can refer to it as adjust mask. So now over here in the simulator, you'll notice that when I press down or pan down, or anywhere I'm kind of pressing down, it'll move the location of me, right? And that's the adjust mask. And it's actually, of course, I mean, it should be clear, but it's moving this inside of the mask itself, okay? So let's now play around with another option. You can rotate it, and this is going to get saved. All these little adjustments, and let's find our rotation controls. They are over here, and you can see that the multiplier is just set to 1, so it's a kind of 1-to-1 ratio of how much I rotate versus how much the adjust mask rotates. And the only rotation item inside of here is that adjust mask. So just to kind of prove that this works, let's go ahead and give me like quite a bit of an adjustment here. I'm going to reopen the page to test the mask, and you'll see that as soon as it reopens, I'm in the same place I was before, which indicates that it remembered the rotation values that we set last time and blah, blah, blah. So, all right, let's kind of get me back to normal here. And obviously I need to get stretched out a little bit. Okay, that's maybe a little bit too much. I don't think my face is that long. All right, go back down a little bit. And maybe I need to get stretched out a little bit that way. I'm not that thin either. And then let's zoom in a bit. Okay. And again, I could move this by panning it like so, but here we go. I don't know, maybe do I look like that? And then here, I'm right about inside of there. Okay, it's a horrible photo. I have to go back to the baby pics. So, all right. Obviously, I've clicked on a bunch of buttons over here, and you can see each one of them inside of the elements. So we've got move mask right, left, up, down, zoom mask down, zoom mask up, and the events that manipulate them, I've actually just named the same as the buttons, kind of keep things simple. But the most important part here is that the event is called move mask right, and you can see that the value for it would be whatever you want. I set this to 20, so anytime I press down on this, it's going to move me 20 points over that way. Okay, so the actual values are up to you how much you want to move around, and then same thing is going to be true for zooming the mask up or down. These are more of like fractional values though, so 0.05 is like 5%, so 5% the scale that it was before. And then of course you can manipulate the scale just on the X or horizontal axis, and again very low numbers right there. And all these are going to get saved, so you can see once again that if I were to reopen the page to test the mask, I'm right back where I was before. And even if I went back and let's build it entirely again, and keep in mind this the image is getting saved as an NS user default, so it's always going to be around for as long as the app is there. So you can see that now, even when I just go back to the kind of picker selection page, I'm back in the same place that I was before, because it's just, you know, showing me the same masked image previously with all the same masked image manipulations in place. So you've also got a few other buttons in here. You can save the screen, and there's no value for that. You just put in there save screen, and you can also, there's another property called save nodes. Let me save nodes. Oh yeah, okay. It's save nodes to camera roll, and what you can do is, let's change this to save nodes to camera roll, is you can actually change this to an array and pick out specific nodes that you want to save. So one of them on there is called furry body. That's the little furry body, obviously. And then the parent node that contains both the well, there's a parent node that contains the image that's being masked, and that's called camera roll picture, and I've documented this, but so that would actually save that. The only problem with this is that if you do save these nodes to camera roll, it doesn't respect the mask, so it's kind of a bummer. So if you were gonna like do something like this, what I'd probably do is you do all of your editing, your mask editing on one page, and then on the next page when you're you want to give people the option to save the screen, do that without all these interface controls, and then just save the screen, okay? Because when you do press save screen, it takes exactly what you got right here, including the the mask in place, and that's your most reliable option. But you do have this this option for whenever you think you do need it. Maybe it's using it with a mask is not the best option, but it is pretty cool that you can save individual nodes out to the camera roll. So I'm gonna switch this back to what it was before, save screen, and let's get back over here. Okay, so I think that is that's pretty much it. And again, try to monetize that as much as you can, because this is a pretty cool feature as of build 1.07.